Well, hey there, kiddos, and welcome to your video on substitution. This is the first day of substitution. Our second day of substitution is going to be just practicing what you've learned today, so you're going to get lots of practice with this. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, we are finding solutions to systems of equations. There are three ways to do it, at least three ways we're going to learn in this class. There's substitution, and then there's something called elimination, and then we're going to solve by graphing. So substitution is what we'll start with, and it's just like what you think of. If I substitute, I take something that is equal in value to a variable or something else, and I replace it. I substitute it in. It's just like when I have a substitute teacher, or when the Dallas Cowboys are playing and Matt Castle has come in and subbed for Tony Romo. It's the same kind of situation. They play the same position, and so they can sub for one another. So here are our steps for solving systems by substitution. Step number one is to make sure one of your equations is solved for a variable. So it has either x or y by itself. So you've got to have a variable all alone. That's the very first thing we have to do. So if we look over here at our first example, I see that my first equation says y equals 2x. So I've got an equation that is solved for a variable because y is by itself. So step number two is to substitute that in. So we're going to substitute that value into the second equation, or into the other equation. So we're going to take what we know about y over here up here. It says y equals 2x. And in this bottom equation, we're going to substitute it. So y is Tony Romo, 2x is Matt Castle. We're going to put Matt Castle in for Tony Romo. So we're going to plug it in. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to have 3x. And instead of y, I'm going to put 2x. So I have 3x plus 2x equals 10. What that has done is given me an equation with only one variable, and I know how to solve that. So step number 3 is to solve and plug that value in. So plug the answer in to get the other variable. There are always two answers when you do a system of equations, because you should always have an x value and a y value, because remember, like we talked when we first talked about systems, the solution is where two lines intersect. And so we're looking for a point where the two lines are going to cross, so I have to have an x and a y. So the solution always has to be written as an ordered pair, because it is a point that is going to be on a line. So I'm going to solve this for x. So 3x plus 2x, when I put it together, makes 5x. And when I solve that for x by dividing by 5, I get that x is equal to 2. And so now I know x is equal to 2. I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it back into the y equals 2x equation. I'm going to plug it back into that one because that one always says y equals. If you want to plug it into the bottom one, go ahead and plug it into the bottom one. You're just making more work for yourself. The top one has the y by itself, so it makes it real simple. So I'm going to plug this back into here. So I'm going to do y is equal to 2 times 2, because that's what x equals, and so I get that y is equal to 4. So my ordered pair solution for this system is 2, 4, which tells me that if I graph these two equations, that they are going to intersect at the point 2, 4. So let's look at number 2. Step 1, make sure that one of my equations is solved for a variable, and it is. It says x is equal to negative 3y, so I'm going to have to plug negative 3y in wherever I see an x. So in this equation, I'm going to do 15 times negative 3y. Then the rest of the equation stays the same because I didn't change it. And so now I'll simplify so I can solve. So 15 times negative 3y is negative 45y minus 2y is equal to 94. Well, that makes negative 47y. And when I divide by negative 47, I get that y is equal to negative 2. So I have my y value, which I'm going to plug back into this top equation because it's the one that says x equals. So I'm going to go x is equal to negative 3 times negative 2, because that's what y equaled. So x is equal to positive 6. So my ordered pair solution is at 6, negative 2. So we're going to do 2 more, and then there are some practice problems on here for you to try. There's also a word problem, wouldn't hurt you to attempt if you get around to it. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at number 6 down here. Number 6, I have two equations. I've got 2x minus y is equal to 16, and then I also have negative 1/2 y is equal to 8 minus x. I've got to get a variable by itself or substitution won't work. I can do that in this top equation, but because the x has a number in front, that makes it not so easy. And because the y has a negative in front, that still makes it not so easy. But this bottom equation, the only thing on the left-hand side over here is negative 1/2 y. So if I get rid of the negative 1/2, I've got the y by itself. Well, because this is a fraction, I can multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. And if I multiply by a negative, it will also take care of the negative. So this will cancel out this, leaving me with 1y. And then on this side, I also have to multiply by negative 2. I've got to multiply everything. So 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. Negative x times negative 2 makes positive 2x. So now I have what y equals. But now I have to plug that into this top equation. And so, because now I know what y equals, it's got to go into the other equation. So this goes into here. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to change colors so you can see what's going on. This equation is 2x minus y, and y is all of this. So I'm going to put all of that in parentheses because I have negative 16 plus 2x, and it equals 16. And so what I want to do is I've got to distribute this negative to everything over here because it's minus both parts of this. So this becomes 2x minus a negative becomes plus 16, and then negative and a positive makes negative 2x is equal to 16. So if I combine my like terms, this 2x and this minus 2x, they cancel each other out. And what I'm left with is a statement that says 16 equals 16. I don't have any variables. They all disappeared. But in my world, hopefully in yours too, 16 really does equal 16. And so since this is a true statement, it tells me that this problem right here has infinite solutions, which if you will remember, that means that these are exactly the same line. So when I graph them, it's going to graph one right on top of the other, and so they will, that's what will happen. So now let's look at number 7, because number 7 is a little different. It's super easy to deal with, but it asks us to do something that other problems haven't done. So it says if y is equal to 4x plus 2 and y is equal to 16x minus 4, then what is x plus y? So what they're asking us basically is solve this problem, find x and y, and then add them together. And so on both of these say y equals. Well, when both of them are y equals, then that means these are the same thing because they're both y. So that means that I can take this one, 4x plus 2, and set it equal to this one, 16x minus 4, because they are the same thing. They're both y equals. They're equal to each other. They're the same, which is what equals means. So I can now solve this for x because it's got variables on both sides. So remember, we're going to do baby to mama. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So I get 2 is equal to 16 minus 4 is 12x minus 4. Now I'll add 4 to both sides. So I've got 6 is equal to 12x. And when I divide both sides by 12, be very careful here. 6 divided by 12 is 1/2. So x is equal to 1/2. Now I've got to find y because I've got to have that to solve my problem. So I'm going to plug it back in, and it doesn't matter which equation. I'm going to do the top one because the numbers are smaller, and it's a plus and not a minus. So I'm going to do 4 times 1/2 plus 2. Well, 4 times 1/2 is 2, and 2 plus 2 is 4. So that tells me that y is equal to 4. So to find x plus y, I have to do 1/2 plus 4, which is equal to 4 and 1/2. So there is what that problem equals. So that's how it works. You got to get a variable by itself, then you got to substitute it in, solve that, then you got to take that answer and substitute it in to get the other variable, and then write your answer as an ordered pair. It seems like a lot, but the more you practice this, the easier it will get. So we'll practice this tomorrow. I'll see you then. Have a good rest of your day.